I still remember the exact moment everything shifted. It wasn't because I caught him cheating. It wasn't a suspicious message or a late-night call. It was a voicemail. A single voicemail he forgot to delete. I was doing laundry when his phone buzzed on the table. Not unusual. He always forgot to put it on silent, but the notification that popped up froze me. New voicemail, unknown number. Don't know why, but a cold feeling ran through my chest. He never gets calls from unknown numbers, and he never gets voicemails, ever. I shouldn't have pressed play. I know that, but my fingers tapped before my mind could stop them, and then, her voice filled the room, soft, shaky, too familiar and too intimate for a stranger. She said, "I can't keep doing this. Call me back, please. I need to know where we stand, where we stand." Those 3 words hit me like a punch. She sounded tired, like she'd been crying, like they'd been having conversations I knew nothing about. My heart dropped. My breathing stopped, but before I could replay it, he walked into the room. And the look on his face when he saw me holding his phone, that told me everything I needed to know. Not the truth, not the details, just one thing: he was hiding something. Something big. He didn't even ask why I was holding his phone. He didn't ask anything. He just said, way too quickly, "That's nothing. Just a wrong number." But wrong numbers don't leave emotional voicemails. And wrong numbers don't say where we stand. He grabbed the phone, slipped it into his pocket, and walked away. Fast, too fast, and that was the moment I realized I wasn't imagining things. Something was happening behind my back. Something he was terrified I'd find, and I knew one thing for sure. This was just the beginning. The rest of the day felt unreal. He moved around the house like a ghost, avoiding eye contact, avoiding conversation, avoiding me. Every step he took felt rehearsed, careful, controlled, and that only confirmed what I already knew. He was hiding something. Something he didn't want slipping out. That night at dinner, he barely spoke. He just pushed his food around, staring at his plate like it held some impossible answer. Every time his phone buzzed, he jumped. Not a normal flinch, the kind someone makes when they're expecting bad news. Finally, I asked, "Do you want to talk about the voicemail?" He froze, completely, like I had ripped open a door he was desperately trying to keep shut. He cleared his throat and forced a smile. "There's nothing to talk about," he said too quickly. "Just someone who dialed the wrong number." It happens, but there was something in his voice, a crack he couldn't hide. I watched him, trying to read the truth in his eyes, but he wouldn't look at me, not once. Later that night, after he fell asleep, I lay awake staring at the ceiling again. Something inside me kept whispering, "This isn't about a wrong number. This is deeper." And then, something unusual happened. At 1:27 a.m., his phone lit up on the nightstand. Not with a call, not with a message, but with a notification. Voicemail deleted, unknown number. My heart dropped. He had deleted her voicemail. The one he thought I would replay. The one he didn't want me to hear again. But why delete it now? Why at exactly 1:27 a.m., when he thought I was sleeping? I turned my head slowly. He wasn't asleep. He was lying there with his eyes open, pretending. His breathing was too quick. His fingers were gripping the blanket, and he didn't know I saw the notification light up. I knew right then. He was living a double life. Not with another woman not yet confirmed, but with a secret so heavy he couldn't hide it anymore. The next morning, before he left for work, he paused at the door like he wanted to say something. His lips parted and then he closed them again. No words. Just guilt, fear, something else. Something I couldn't name yet. When he finally left, I sat on the couch and whispered to myself, "This isn't about infidelity anymore. This is something else, something bigger," and I could feel it in my bones. The house felt colder after he left. Not physically, but in that strange emotional way. Like the walls were holding a secret too heavy for them to carry. I sat there replaying everything in my mind. The voicemail, the way he flinched at every notification, The look he gave me when he realized I heard her voice, I knew one thing. If I waited for him to tell me the truth, I would never get it. So I decided to find it myself. I went to the bedroom, grabbed his phone charger, and stared at the empty spot where his phone normally sat at night. He never used to hide it. Now it was glued to him like a second skin. That alone was a confession, a silent one. Around noon, my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize. For a second, my stomach flipped. Was it her? I hesitated before answering. Hello? I said. There was silence on the other end. Long, shaky, emotional silence. Then a woman whispered, "He's not who you think he is." My breath caught before I could respond. She hung up. I stared at my phone, stunned. My heart racing so fast it felt like it might break through my chest. Who was she? What did she know? Why did she call me? I tried calling back, no answer. Straight to voicemail, and that's when I noticed it. Her voice on the voicemail greeting. It was the same woman from the message I heard on his phone. The same soft, trembling tone. The same sadness. The same desperation, but her voicemail greeting said something that froze me completely. You've reached Emily. If I don't answer, it's probably not safe for me to talk. Not safe? For her? I felt a chill run through me. This wasn't a flirtatious affair. This wasn't romantic. Her voice didn't sound seductive. It sounded terrified. I sat down because suddenly the room felt like it was spinning. Not safe? What did that mean? Was he involved in something dangerous? Was she warning me? Or warning herself? My hands trembled as I looked at the call log again. She had called me. Me, not him. Why? Was she trying to tell me something? Or trying to escape something? I didn't know. But one thing was clear. This was no longer about infidelity. Something darker was unfolding, and I wasn't sure I was ready for the truth. But I had no choice, because the secret my husband was hiding was starting to reveal itself piece by piece, call by call, lie by lie, and I wasn't prepared for the storm that was coming. The evening felt heavier than usual. She sat alone on the edge of the bed, fingers trembling, staring at her phone as if it held a secret too dangerous to touch. All day, she had replayed last night's confession, his voice, shaky, his words, half broken, the truth she never expected. She didn't cry, not yet. Sometimes pain is too stunned to fall. Just then, her phone lit up. His name, calling. For a moment, she froze. If she answered, everything would be real. Every betrayal, every excuse, every "I'm sorry" waiting on the other side of the line. She let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. Finally, she picked up. His voice cracked. "Please, just listen. I didn't want to hurt you. I don't even know why I did it. I've been a fool. I lost myself. But I can't lose you." Silence. She closed her eyes. Her heart wasn't made of stone. It was bruised, exhausted, and begging for clarity. But she had changed. Something inside her had shifted. This time, she wasn't going to break for someone who didn't protect her heart. "You didn't lose yourself," she said quietly. "You lost me." There was a pause so long it echoed. He whispered, almost breathless, "Are you saying it's over?" She inhaled slowly, feeling a strange calm settle inside, the kind of peace that comes after accepting the truth. "It has to be," she said. For me, she ended the call, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel weak. She felt free. The room felt strangely quiet after she ended the call, as if even the walls were holding their breath, waiting to see what she would do next. She sat still for a moment, staring at her reflection in the darkened window. Her eyes looked tired, but stronger. There was a softness in her face, the kind that appears only when someone finally admits the truth to themselves. She deserved better. Better than lies. Better than half love. Better than being someone's second choice on lonely nights. But even then, the memories tried to claw their way back. The good moments, the laughter, the late-night talks when he made her feel like the center of his world. She hugged her knees and whispered to herself, why wasn't that enough to stay loyal? Her phone vibrated again. A message this time. "Please, just meet me once." I need to see you. I'll explain everything. Her heart thumped painfully. Part of her wanted closure, answers, reasons, but another part, the quieter but wiser part, whispered, "You already know the truth." She set the phone aside and walked to the mirror. She touched her own cheek gently, as if reminding herself she was real, she mattered. She didn't have to fight for someone who didn't fight for her. She opened her closet and pulled out a small box she hadn't touched in months. Inside were little reminders of him, a bracelet he gifted her, a note he once slipped into her bag, a photo booth strip from the day they laughed until they cried. One by one, she placed everything inside the box again. Slowly, deliberately. This wasn't anger. This was acceptance. Then she did something she never thought she'd do. She put on her shoes and stepped outside. The night air was cold, brushing against her skin like a reminder that she was alive, that life was bigger than heartbreak. She walked to the park nearby, the same place where they had once planned a future that now felt like a distant dream. But this time, she wasn't there for him. She sat on a bench and looked up at the sky. The stars looked so peaceful, so distant from the chaos inside her. For the first time in weeks, she breathed deeply. Her chest loosened, her mind quieted, and slowly, a small, almost invisible smile appeared. She realized something important. Healing isn't a moment, it's a choice. And tonight, she finally chose herself. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't even look at it, not because she was trying to be strong, but because she no longer needed to respond. She had stepped out of the pain. She had stepped into a new version of herself, a woman who could walk alone and still feel whole. She returned home late, wrapped in a strange calmness she didn't fully understand yet. Her breathing felt lighter, like she had just dropped a weight she'd been carrying for far too long. But peace didn't last long. When she entered her room, she saw her phone blinking with a new notification, not from him, but from someone she hadn't expected. It was from her friend, the one who had always stayed quiet, always avoided talking about him, always changed the subject whenever his name came up. The message said, "I think you should know something before you go back to him." Her heart tensed. A warning, or a truth? She hesitated, then opened the message. There it was. Screenshots, photos, dates, times. Her friend wasn't trying to hurt her. She was finally telling her what she had been too scared to say before. He hadn't cheated just once. It wasn't an accident, a moment of weakness, or a mistake he regretted immediately. It was a pattern, a habit, a double life. He had been seeing the other woman for months, telling her the same stories, using the same compliments, promising the same dreams. She felt the ground tilt beneath her, her breath hitched, her eyes stung. This wasn't just betrayal, this was who he truly was. And suddenly everything made sense. The excuses, the late replies, the unexplained silences, the busy nights, the sudden mood changes. She sat on the edge of the bed, holding her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white, but then, instead of crying, she laughed, a sad, broken, almost relieved laugh, because now there was no room for doubt, no space for wishful thinking, no more imagining that maybe, somehow, she had misunderstood. The truth freed her, painfully, sharply, completely. She whispered to herself, "I wasn't crazy, I wasn't dramatic, I wasn't asking for too much. He was giving me too little." She closed the screenshots and placed her phone face down. And for the first time ever, she didn't feel the urge to confront him. She didn't want revenge. She didn't want explanations. She just wanted a life that wasn't tied to lies. She took a deep breath, wiped her face, and whispered, "I'm done." Not as a threat, not as a performance, but as a quiet truth from a woman who had finally seen enough. The next morning, sunlight slipped through the curtains, warming her face. But she didn't feel warm. She felt hollow, like someone had carved a space out of her chest and left it empty. She picked up her phone, expecting silence. But instead, another message. This time, the name on the screen made her stomach twist. The other woman, a message she had never wanted to read. "I think you and I need to talk. I didn't know about you. Not until last night." Her hands shook. She stared at the message, trying to understand why this person who had accidentally become the center of her heartbreak wanted to talk. She didn't reply, she didn't owe her anything, but then another message came. Please, I'm not reaching out to fight you. I'm reaching out because I feel used too, used. The word hit her harder than she expected. For months, she had imagined the other woman as the villain, someone who knowingly walked into her life and destroyed everything, but now, she wasn't so sure. After minutes of staring, she finally typed one word, why? The reply came instantly, because he told me you were done. He told me you were toxic. He said he was single and healing. Her jaw tightened. Her heart cracked all over again, but this time, the crack felt clean. Because now she could see the truth with painful clarity. He wasn't confused. He wasn't broken. He wasn't misunderstood. He was a manipulator. He played victim to both of them. The other woman continued, I'm sorry. If I knew, I would have never. She didn't finish the sentence. And honestly, she didn't need to. For the first time, both women were seeing the same man, the real one, not the version he had carefully crafted for each of them. She felt anger rise in her chest, but not at the other woman. At him, at the lies, at the months she spent blaming herself for things she never caused, at the trust she gave so freely to someone who never deserved it. She took a deep breath, steadied her voice, and typed, thank you, but I don't want to talk about him anymore. He's out of my life, the other woman replied. I understand. I'm leaving him too. Just take care of yourself. For a moment, she stared at the screen, feeling something unexpected. Solidarity. Not friendship. Not forgiveness. But a quiet understanding between two women who deserved better. She placed her phone down and whispered, he broke two hearts, but he lost both. Then she stood up stronger than yesterday, lighter than last night, and more certain of one thing than she had ever been before. She was done being the one who suffered. Now, she was the one moving on. She didn't sleep much that night, not because she was sad, but because her mind was finally awake, clear in a way it hadn't been in months. For the first time, she wasn't thinking about him. She wasn't replaying their memories. She wasn't wondering what she could have done differently. She was thinking about herself, the woman she used to be, the woman she was becoming, the woman she wanted to be. The next morning, she did something she hadn't done in a long time. She made coffee, stepped outside, and breathed in the crisp air like it belonged to her again. The world felt different, bigger, softer, and somehow full of possibility. She sat on the porch, watching the quiet street, when her phone buzzed again. Him, a long message this time. He wrote about missing her, about regretting everything, about wanting one more chance, about how he felt broken without her. She read every word, calmly, without crying, without shaking, because she finally realized something powerful. His guilt didn't change what he did. His regret didn't erase her pain. And his promises didn't rebuild trust. She didn't reply. He no longer deserved a piece of her energy. Instead, she opened her gallery and deleted their photos, every smile hiding an unspoken hurt, every moment that looked happy but felt empty beneath the surface. Each picture she removed felt like cutting another thread that tied her to him. Then she packed a small bag and drove to her sister's place. Someone who had always loved her honestly, unconditionally, without hurting her, just to feel powerful. When her sister opened the door, she didn't ask questions. She just pulled her into a hug, a long one, the kind that makes you realize how much love you've been missing. And that's when she finally cried, not because she wanted him back, not because she felt broken, but because she was releasing everything she had carried alone. Her sister whispered, "You didn't lose him, honey. You protected yourself." That's strength. Later that evening, she sat on the balcony, looking at the sunset. The sky, painted in warm oranges and soft pinks, felt like a reminder. Even endings can look beautiful. For the first time in so long, her heart felt calm. She whispered to herself, "I choose me now," and she meant it with every part of her soul. The days that followed were quiet, not empty, not lonely, but peaceful in a way she had forgotten life could be. She stayed with her sister, took long walks, read books she'd abandoned months ago, and slowly rebuilt the parts of herself she had lost while trying to hold together a relationship that was never whole. But peace doesn't stop the past from knocking. On the third day, her phone rang again, his name. She let it ring, again and again, until finally, he stopped calling. But then came a voice message. His voice sounded different, not angry, not defensive, not manipulative. It sounded scared. Hey, I know you're ignoring me. I get it, but please, just hear me out. I went by your place and you weren't there. I don't know what to do. I'm losing my mind without you. I messed up. I know that. But please, don't disappear like this. I'm begging you. She listened to the whole thing without a single tear, because none of it surprised her. This wasn't love. This was a man panicking because he lost control, lost comfort, lost the person who forgave him too easily. She placed her phone down and whispered, "You're not losing me. You already lost me." You just finally noticed. Later that evening, as she and her sister baked cookies in the kitchen, her sister asked gently, "Do you want to talk to him? For closure?" She shook her head. Closure doesn't come from conversations. It comes from acceptance. Her sister smiled softly. Then you're stronger than you think. But life had one more surprise for her. Later that night, she received a message from an unknown number. At first, she almost ignored it. But something about the preview made her freeze. "You don't know me, but you need to see this." Attached was a photo of him with another woman, taken just 2 nights ago while he was sending her long messages about being broken without her. Her stomach didn't drop. Her heart didn't shatter. She just exhaled, not in pain but in relief, because now she had proof of what she had felt all along. He wasn't sorry. He wasn't changing. He wasn't suffering. He was just caught, and suddenly every last bit of guilt, every "maybe I should have tried harder," every ounce of confusion disappeared. She whispered to herself, "I'm so glad I walked away," and this time, she didn't look back. A week passed. A quiet, strangely liberating week. She was healing slowly, softly, and almost beautifully, but life has a way of creating the perfect moment for a twist. Right when you think the story is over. It started with a knock on the door, not frantic, not aggressive, just steady. Her sister peeked through the window. "It's him," she whispered. Her heart didn't race. Her hands didn't shake. She felt nothing, and that was the real sign she had moved on. Still, she stepped outside. He stood there, hair messy, face tired, eyes red like he hadn't slept in days. He held something in his hand, a folded piece of paper. No phone, no excuses, just paper. "I know you won't answer my calls," he said. "I know I've lost the right to talk, but you need to know the truth. All of it." She crossed her arms, waiting. He unfolded the paper with trembling fingers. "It's a letter," he said. "I wrote it because I couldn't say it out loud." But she didn't take it. So he began reading. "I didn't just hurt you," his shaky voice echoed. "I hurt someone else too. And I thought I could hide it." She frowned. This wasn't the confession she expected. "2 days after you left," he continued, "the other woman told me she wasn't the only one." Her eyes widened. "Only one? What did that mean?" He swallowed hard. "There were others. Not relationships. Just moments. Lies. Flirting. Nights I thought I could erase. I became someone I don't even recognize anymore. I kept telling myself I wasn't hurting anyone, but I was hurting everyone." He looked up at her with glossy eyes. "But something happened after you walked away." She didn't speak. She didn't move. "When I went back home, I found a note taped to my door." He handed it to her, hands shaking. She finally took it. The handwriting was unfamiliar. It said, "She deserved better. We all did. Fix yourself, or stay broken forever." Her stomach twisted. He looked down at the ground. "It wasn't from you." It wasn't from her. It was from someone else I lied to. Someone I didn't think cared enough to confront me. He took a deep breath. That's when I realized something. I wasn't unlucky in love. I was the problem. I hurt good people because I was too weak to face myself. He wiped a tear with the back of his hand. I'm getting help, he whispered. Therapy, accountability. I'm trying to rebuild the pieces I shattered, not to win you back, but to make sure I never destroy someone like you again. She was quiet, very quiet. He stepped back slightly. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know the truth, the whole truth, so you never blame yourself again. Then he handed her the letter. She took it, not for him, but for herself. He looked at her one last time. You were the best thing I ever had. Losing you was the wake-up call I deserved. Then he turned around and walked away, not begging, not arguing, just gone. She stood there holding the letter. For a moment, the world felt still, like time paused just to let her breathe. She unfolded the paper. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't an excuse. It was a confession of a man who finally realized his own darkness, and strangely, reading it didn't reopen old wounds. It closed them tightly, completely, forever. She whispered to herself, I'm finally free, and this time, there was no twist left in the story except the biggest one. She thought he was the ending of her life, but he was only the lesson that led to her new beginning. She walked back inside, smiling softly, knowing one thing for sure. This was the ending her audience never saw coming, but the one she always deserved.